And the original 70s soundtrack. Got a little surprise there for you, kids. We actually have Sebie Lacey. He's going to jump in here before Steve Morse, man, which makes it even better.
Yeah.
Hey, Sebie, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Alan?
Good. Nice to hear from you, buddy.
It's great to be heard from.
Are you having a nice Easter?
Very much so. How about you guys?
We got gifted with a warm, beautiful day today. It was awesome.
Yes.
Same here. Same here.
Well, CB, for the kids at home, we have a lot of Stillwater fans, obviously, on this show. We big in Central Georgia, imagine that. But for the kids that aren't familiar with Stillwater, why don't you give us just a quick rundown of your history?
Oh, well, Stillwater, we formed in 73. All of us were in different colleges at the time, and all of us were different bands, you know, coming up through our youth. And come home for the holidays, and Mike Causey, which is one of the guitar players, and was up at Georgia College with Bobby and some of the other guys, and they were talking about forming a band, wanted to know if I would be a part. And I said, absolutely. So we dropped out of college and took Rock and Roll 101. And then just started from the point on, we just decided what we wanted to do was, try to write music and get in the studio and record and try to get a record deal. And so we worked hard at that, and every opportunity we could, we'd get enough money up, go in the studio, put down some demos and send them out. And then we had to play, all across the, up and down the East Coast, and to try to get all this to work. And finally in 76, we signed with Capricorn.
There you go. Capricorn Records, of course, for those that don't know, is right up the street from Warner Robins in Macon, Georgia. Sort of a legendary southern rock label, although they did have a wide variety of artists on there. But I try to describe it, people, as Phil Walden and Capricorn Records were sort of like Berry Gordy and Motown was to that genre, I think.
Exactly.
Real. The label was really casting his image. And Sue's passing me a note. CB, you know what I forgot to do, buddy?
What?
We got to make you famous before we can talk to you. We'll do the celebrity bumper. You didn't happen to have that script in front of you, do you?
No, I don't.
From the email?
Heck no.
What am I?
I'll just feed you your line. Pretend you're on a Hollywood set. I'll just feed you a line, and then you say the line. I'll feed you another line, and then you say that, and I can edit it together. That way, we'll have you. It basically is a. Okay, just say, "Hi, this is Sebie Lacey of Stillwater."
Hi, this is Sebie Lacey of Stillwater.
And you're listening to the original 70s soundtrack.
And you're listening to the original 70s soundtrack.
On 96.5 CTG.
On 96.5 CTG.
Awesome, man. I'll be able to put that thing together, and we'll put you right in there with Davy Jones and Casey and Mark Farner, Rick Springfield.
Oh, Mark, too, huh?
Yeah.
Beware Falling Man, Steve Morse.
Man.
Back to Capricorn, though, speaking of Steve Morse. We name-checked Stillwater in an interview. It's coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. We were talking about Capricorn Records, and Steve Morse was in the Dixie Dregs. And he was telling me he was around when you guys were breaking your first single, Mindbender.
That's right. We were, it was pretty wild because about the same time, we were, all doing clubs and stuff. And they were close to signing about the same time we did with Capricorn. And we all played some of the same circuits and got to know each other pretty well through that time.
Well, Stillwater, to me, too, that was fascinating. And I grew up in that at your feet, so to speak. I started taking lessons in the late 70s, right in Warner Robins, there for about 10 months. And, of course, I reserve the right. I can just play that song backwards, forwards, sideways.
Man. I got your email. I was hoping you were going to show up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got to put my money where my mouth is now, right? I'll at least have to YouTube it for you or something. But
that's what we're going to have to do. I told Mikey, I said, look at this. He said he's ready.
Yeah, the boy's got a lot of mouth.
You got to get down there
Got
and
to back it up now.
Yes, you do.
But look, so when you guys came out, and Mindbender, I think, was not just a regional hit. Didn't it actually hit the Billboard chart as a single?
Yeah, it did. It did. At Cashbox, it was 38, and it was about 40. I think didn't quite get top 40 on Billboard. It was somewhere right in there, 42, somewhere in there, something like that.
So at this point, it's like, what, 77? And you're on the
77.
road? You're on the road with opening for just everybody. Can you drop some names for us?
Yeah, we toured with the Atlanta Rhythm Section. Toured with Charlie Daniels. We've done the East and West Coast with Charlie. Done some dates with Foreigner. Good Lord, the Allman Brothers and us done some dates out through Texas and all through there. Just quite a few different acts we were fortunate enough to play with, you know.
Sure.
And, go ahead.
Oh, I saw you live about 5-6 times, I think, in a 2-year period there. I think even with Mother's Finest one year. Is that right?
Yeah, Mother Finest, yeah.
Civic Center.
Kansas, and all of us used to play Alex Cooley's Electric Ballroom in Atlanta.
Sweet. People still don't believe the story. I saw Molly Hatchet at the Civic Center for $3 for a radio company showcase. But that's the other thing I tell people was I hung around with the Roundhouse guys a little bit.
Right.
They became Doc Holliday. But, you know, you're in town. It's almost like people you knew down the street were getting a record deal. It's like, we know these guys, Roundhouse, and the next thing we know, A&M is in town. They're changing their name to Doc Holliday, and boom, they got a record deal. It's like, whoa.
That's right.
It just opened up my imagination, I think, as a child, too, to just think, well, gosh, you know, if I keep playing and this little band does something, we'll get a record deal, you know. And seeing you guys in Stillwater, I mean, you know, older brothers to us for sure, getting it done and actually going out and doing it. It was just so inspirational. And you, of course, being a singing drummer makes it awesome, too.
Well, yeah, I tricked them as long as I could.
Well, I think you got somebody else behind the skins now, right?
Yeah, David Heck come in back in the 80s, in the 79, about 80, and I went out front doing vocals.
There you go.
And and we still, you know, that's the way the lineup is now.
Right.
You know, the way we do it.
That's the only way to get it done. I tell you, too, and then I Reserve the Right came out, and, of course, we love that. I love that whole CD. I think I've got most of it here. We've got at least a couple tracks from you coming up later tonight, too. But when that came out and the momentum got there, I think, now, correct me if I'm wrong, is there still a problem with your masters as far as when Capricorn went under from a business standpoint?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. We can't seem to find them. You know, when we recorded in the first album, 77, and second album, we recorded in Dorville. Well, that's where Rhythm Section recorded.
Studio One,
Yeah, Studio One, and Buddy Bowie was our producer who produced Atlanta Rhythm Section. So all of our stuff was in there, and they sold the studio to, I think, Georgia State College or somebody at the time. Mm-hmm. And I think somewhere along the line, usually when you do an album, it goes back to the record company, and I don't know if our tracks ever got back to Capricorn. You know, so we're not sure. So, you know, we had a third album working on, so we were able to get that. Rodney Mills worked with us. Rodney worked with the Doobie Brothers, and he's engineered on the Rhythm Section stuff, and also done some of Skinner's stuff. You know, when we were doing our second album, Skinner was finishing up Survivors, too, and they come up from Florida and finished it up Studio One with us.
I love that.
You know, record up there, too. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty wild.
I'd say it's again, it's just amazing. Do you realize, too, I don't know if you realize this, that you, and especially Buddy Bowie, and anybody he ever touched or met or worked with, is huge in parts of Europe. Did you know that?
You know, I get stuff every now and then about that. They want us to come up. We've had a lot of people. Matter of fact, the show we're fixing to be doing in May, you know, the 7th, Eddie has got some stuff from people over in Europe wanting to how they can get tickets to come.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's pretty wild. Yeah, it is wild.
They're fans for all things Buddy Bowie. They're huge ARS fans. And tell us about the show you've got coming up while we're on that.
Okay. You know, we disbanded in 83. And the next Christmas, usually everybody would come back home and we'd all get together, and it was kind of funky feeling. I said, well, to just kind of get together and play. So that started what we call the Stillwater reunion. And we've been doing it since 84, and we missed the last couple of years, but we're going to do a spring show, May the 7th, at the Big House, and that's in Macon. That's where back in the late 60s, early 70s, the Allman Brothers were living in that house trying to make it too at that time.
Sure.
Oh.
So they've turned that into like a museum type deal.
Yeah, it's killer. Yeah, it's awesome.
So we're gonna do a little bit of outside stuff playing there, and try to help raise a little money to keep the thing going. You know, and we got Jimmy Hall. He always comes out to all the reunion shows. That's with Wet Willie. Jimmy Hall.
Yeah.
And Ronnie, in the past has always come. Ronnie Hammond.
Sure.
And y'all all aware we lost him, which was a terrible blow for all of us.
It was.
So what we're going to try to do, and we're just going to dedicate that whole evening to Ronnie.
Yeah, I know. I tell you, Ronnie was one of the few people I met. It was, again, it was dude down the street. I think his nephew, Eddie, was telling me, "Oh, that's my Uncle Ronnie." Blah 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 blah. You know, when Imaginary Lover was on the charts, I thought, "What do you think?" I just rolled off a turnip truck. You know, but he sure was. Went there Christmas time, he's sitting there eating a sandwich, and again, I'm like 12, 13 years old, and he looked like he was 10 feet tall to me because I had the Champagne Jam album. I knew who he was, and I just froze. And he just put that big old hand out, and just what a fantastic voice that man had. Just sounded like an angel.
He is a super guy. I mean, we had some great times together.
Ronnie Van Zant, I think, called him at one point. He said Southern Rock's best voice. Yeah,
I would. Yeah, because I'm gonna tell you, it was so pure. I mean, very pure.
Awesome. Well, let me think of what else. Of course, y'all were rehearsing last weekend, and I was down there.
Yeah, you didn't make it. You know,
if you saw the pictures, look, get your wife to show you my Facebook page and all the pictures we took, and all those pretty women I'm surrounded by, and then you're gonna understand.
I'll understand that, but I didn't have anything saying you couldn't bring them over to the house.
Lord, I had about a dozen of Warner Robins High School's best-looking bells that they've ever produced.
They are very gorgeous women down there.
I think we had from 1981 all the way through 1986. So I was.
How about that?
Happy
boy. You were smiling in all the pictures, I guess,
yes,
right?
Sir. Yes, sir, I was.
Yes, he was.
Well, Sebie, you have a blessed Easter. Give our love to your wife, Vicki.
I'll do it.
We're not going to be there. We'll be there in spirit. Is there any way you can tell people that want to get tickets from out of town if they can get them online, or
they just need to contact the Big House. You know, that's it's on Vineville in Macon, Georgia. The Allman Brothers Big House. I don't think they're able to get them online, but I'm not sure. Okay. You know, I'll be honest with you.
Awesome.
So, I'll check out the link and see if we can get that on our Facebook page.
Well, dude,
that would be great. Well, thank you all for the opportunity here.
Yes, sir. And if you do that next year and you do it the same weekend, no pressure or anything, I will totally plan my trip around getting there for that show. It'd be awesome.
Well, and then we'll get you up and you can do I Reserve the Right one.
I will do it with you. I'll have it down by then.
I'm going with you next year.
Well, we're going to do it. We're going to do it then.
Sue's never had any Georgia up in her. I need to take her down there and get her baptized.
Listen, we'll rock her world. She needs to come on down.
I tell you, I have to relearn my manners every 6 months when I go down there because I'm up here a little further north. Sue's from Philadelphia. You know, we got to take her down there and learn her some courtesy.
Some of that old Southern hospitality. Talk slow and says yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Well, I tell you, they're warm and wonderful in Philly too. Just
there we go. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, you have a great Sunday and happy Easter to you, Sebie.
I thank y'all so much for your time.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.